Their deal sounds good, but it doesn't work. And it's false advertising. The Democrats have been the fiscally conservative party. This stimulus doesn't prove anything. It had to be done because it was an emergency. Look at my record. I hate these deficits. Sometimes you've got to do it to keep a worse thing from happening. But if you do it on a permanent basis, like we did in the last 8 years, you borrow the money from China, you lull people into thinking they can have everything they want, and then because you borrowed it from China, you can't really do anything when their currency's overvalued, and we have a big trade deficit because they become your banker. And you're hooked, addicted to your rhetoric instead of arithmetic.
Ooh, another good
Folks,
line.
we got a chance to bring America
That's another
back.
good line.
We're grabbing the lead that we never should have relinquished in the race for a clean energy future. Ohio is doing great things already in wind energy and solar energy and these car batteries and all this stuff. It is just the beginning. Half of our trade deficit is imported oil. We can be free of it all. We can have people working again. If we stay with a vision for a middle-class America based on 21st century jobs, common sense, arithmetic, investing in people, and going forward together. Now, since 1980, after 30 years in which we had the biggest middle class in history, the bottom 90% of us have gone from having 65% of the country's income to 52%. The top 1% have gone from having 9% of the country's income to 22%. And these guys are saying that 1% ought to be able to dictate everything, and it's too burdensome to ask them just to pay their fair share. We got 180,000 kids that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan that have traumatic brain injuries because they were too close to those roadside bombs. And I resented my wife was on the Armed Services Committee, and they didn't want me to pay my fair share of taking care of those kids, so I get 5 tax cuts, and they borrow the money from China. Trade enforcement drops 80%. We lose manufacturing jobs every year for 8 years. This is not rocket science. We can do better. You are doing better. The future is bright, but we've got to be clear-headed here. Look at the 28 years before the president and this Congress took office. We got a test. 28 years, we tried it their way for 20 years, and our way for 8. Right? In our 8 years, there were 22.7 million jobs. That's more than in their 20 years, and that's before the meltdown. I won't charge them with the ones they lost. Yeah. Look, so more in our 8 than their 20. 100 times as many people worked their way from poverty into the middle class in our 8 as in their 20. That is not an exaggeration. That's the real number. 100 times. We had a 60% drop in the welfare roll because poor people got to go to work.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And look at the other stuff. 10 million more people got college aid. In the 28 years, there were only 4 budget surpluses. All of my second term.
Yeah.
So, middle class and lower income working people got a tax cut. And then when we had a new president and a new Congress, the very first thing they did in that stimulus bill was give 95% of the American people a tax cut so they could go to the grocery store and keep the local grocer open and get through this terrible thing. Now, all I'm saying is, if the Tea Party, and by the way, we got rid of 16,000 pages of government regulation, and the government of the United States, without any fights with the public employee unions, using technology, using early retirements, with totally agreed upon arrangements, was the same size the day I left office as it was 50 years ago in Dwight Eisenhower's last year when John Kennedy was elected president. It was bigger before, and it was bigger after. We have 28 years of tests. And it wasn't because I worked hard for you, although I did. It wasn't because I had a lot of new ideas, although I did. It was because the approaches, the ideas, and the commitment to a middle-class country that encourages every single American without regard to race or where he or she was born or their station in life to live their dreams and gives them a chance to have a good life.